Welcome to the F The Stigma Podcast, Ashley.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
No, I'm excited to have this conversation. We've known each other. I think we met really about a year ago now.
It's been about a year ago.
And yeah, we just haven't had the chance to bring you on the podcast. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. As you know, it's about mental health, addiction, raising awareness, and sharing people's stories in hopes breaking the stigma, and hopefully other people can see themselves in your story.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into it. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay.
That is my hometown, Little Delaware.
What was that like? Did you have like a decent upbringing?
It kind of was both.
Yeah.
So, I remember we didn't have a lot of money. We were pretty poor. And obviously I had my mom and my dad. I do not remember an intact family at all. I don't remember me, my mom, and my dad sitting down and having dinner or doing a lot of activities together. Mm-hmm. So it was primarily my mom who was the caregiver. And then all I knew was that my dad worked a lot, and he worked nights, and he worked far away. That now being he worked at the Philadelphia airport, he worked some kind of night shift. So I just don't remember him being around a lot. So it was mostly just me and my mom. Mm-hmm. And then I guess I was about maybe 5 or 6 when my mom came and said your dad's leaving us. He's not coming home anymore. And as a kid, right, I was devastated, mm-hmm. not because he had been there, but because as a child, I felt why doesn't my dad want to be with me? Mm. Why wouldn't he do anything in his power to stay? So I took on the feelings that it must have been me, right. That my dad was leaving because it was my fault. And coincidentally, at the same time, I think because of what was going on with the divorce and my mom being devastated, my mom now needing extra support, I was shipped over to my grandparents' house a lot. Mm. So I always say for most kids, this is an exciting thing. We love to go to our grandparents' house because we get to stay up late, eat cookies, get toys and prizes. And unfortunately, that was not my experience. So my grandmother, who was an amazing human being, she worked a lot. She was a chef, and she worked nights and wasn't in the home very often. So I was left with my grandfather. And right around the same time the divorce and everything was happening, my grandfather started sexually abusing me when I was going over there. So I felt in that time, at that tender age, yeah. When you're so young and you just don't understand the world, all these things were happening, and I didn't understand it. Right. And I couldn't comprehend what was going on, obviously, which then brought so many feelings of what's wrong with me? Why is this happening to me? It's me. I'm the problem. Mm. And so at that young age, that was my constant feeling. So I had all those weird things going on in the home, but all in all, when I think about my family, and especially my mother and, other relatives, I was really loved and I was really cared for. I always had a roof over my head, food on the table, most of the things that I needed and wanted. I was very cared for and loved in that way.
So how did that ever come out? Did you ever tell anybody about that?
So it did, but it took a long time for that to come mm-hmm. out. So what that looked like was, my I knew it was wrong. Even as a kid, I felt deep in my soul that there was something wrong with this. But a lot of embarrassment came with it, yeah. Because you start going to school and having friends, and you quickly pick up on that, what's happening inside your home is not normal. Mm-hmm. So then again, the shame and the guilt, and it must be something that I did, that I'm the one that this is being done to. Also, I had my grandfather telling me hey, this is our special secret. We can't tell anyone. This is between us. And then I remember having the feelings of there were times I can recall as a little one, really wanting to go tell my mom, because I knew this secret was really bad inside of me, but then also knowing that this was going to destroy my whole family makeup. Everybody adored my grandfather. He was loved by everyone. So all these feelings and I just couldn't bring myself to say anything. So I can remember like vowing to myself probably at like age 8 that like I was never going to tell anyone. And I didn't actually come out with it until I was maybe 15 or 16, when I was getting in a lot of trouble after my mother had sent me to several psychiatrists, several therapists, and didn't say a word. And then finally I like just let it out because I found the right person in therapy that I felt comfortable with.
Yeah, that was like my experience as well with sexual abuse. Like with my first therapist, like it just I felt like the first person that like I felt comfortable with sharing. It's like you're actually here to like hear me out and listen to me. So yeah, that's when it came out for me as well. And it is super confusing and like, you know, it's wrong, but it feels like your fault.
Yeah.
You feel like you can't tell anyone. It's a really weird place to be and it's almost unexplainable. It's like, say you haven't experienced that and you're on the outside, you're like, why wouldn't you say something?
Right.
But it's so different being in it.
It's so different. And I think too, like I love how the times have changed, you know, because when I was growing up, the only thing that they ever talked about was like stranger danger and don't let strangers touch you. Or it was never discussed about being in the home or with someone that you know. So I feel like we still have a long way to go, but it is something that is more talked about and people are open about it and share about it. So I think it is paving the way to make it a little bit easier for people to talk about it today. And that's why I always share about it while it still feels really yucky, like when I talk about it sometimes. But I always make sure I share about it because I want people to know that it will keep you sick. And you have to share about it so then you can work through all the stuff that comes with it. Right.
I've found so much freedom in sharing all the yucky stuff that I feel so ashamed of, even if it was something that wasn't my fault exactly, because it takes the power out of it.
It does.
So like I remember I shared it like a deep secret with somebody, and then me and that person weren't on good terms anymore, and I felt upset that I shared that dark secret with this person. So I told somebody else.
Right.
And I don't know why that helped almost reclaim the power of like, yeah, it doesn't control me. And just because that person, though, that doesn't affect me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And even I remember when I first shared that with my therapist at 15, 16, I remember saying like, I don't want to talk about anything about it. I'm just letting you know that this happened and now I'm shutting down. And so therefore I said it out loud, but I didn't do any work around it. And it wasn't until I went to treatment and started working on myself in recovery that I even dove into, you know, the process of healing and doing the work on that specific situation. So I was like, closed down. I was like, I'm going to drop this bomb on you and tell you that this thing happened. And now we can share it with the rest of the family. But just so you guys know, don't ever talk to me about it again. Obviously, it didn't fare well for me either, because while I said it out loud, again, there's a lot more work that lots of times we have to put into recovering from that. And I wasn't willing.
Sometimes we have to take baby steps. You know what I mean? It takes a while with certain things.
I took real baby steps. It was 20 more years of baby steps to get to some little bit of a resolution. And stuff still comes up today. That's the crazy thing. Like, you know, as you continue in life and you continue on this journey, when I think like, oh, that's so, you know, past me, you know, you get thrown into a different situation and things resurface and they come back up, and then you have to go back in and kind of rework it again and figuring out what's coming back up for you.
Right. So when did substances come into the picture for you?
Oh, they came in early.
Really?
Yeah. So I came from like a party family, I would say. So like I had my mom at home. Remember I talked about like, so now dad's out of the picture and I maybe am seeing him every other weekend. So my mom's left to tend to me. So mom is like rules by the book. Here's our schedule. She was like very regimented. And she also had a lot of pressure on her to like now raise me by herself. So then when I would go over to dad's house and with that side of the family, they all drank, they stayed up late, they danced on tables. They were like big partiers. And So of course, back then things looked a lot different, and we weren't. We were allowed to drink. We were allowed to take sips and try things. And I can remember the first time like trying it and feeling the relief that came over me. Like, whew, this feels good. Like I get it. I get it why they like to drink. So I started drinking pretty early. I knew what like being really drunk was probably by like 12 or 13. And I knew that I really liked it. It provided me with just a relief that I had never felt before and a freedom that I hadn't felt before. So yeah, drinking was kind of, the thing. And then naturally it was, I think the next thing was pot by the time I was freshman in high school. And then it just continued with whatever I could get my hands on.
Right. What was high school like? Because in high school, it's very common to, like drink and smoke weed. Like it's not something that's out of the ordinary, really.
Right.
But what is more so out of the ordinary is the people that start missing school because of it and kind of lose themselves in it.
Yeah. So high school, am I allowed to curse on here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. High school was fucking miserable. I often listen to people talk about like, oh man, I'd do anything to go back to high school. No. Absolutely not. Nightmare. Never would want to do it again. So while I'm starting into all these substances, my biggest outlet for me through age probably 9 until about 14, 15 was basketball. So I was a really good athlete. And for me also like basketball was going to be my way out. Right? Because I had learned that if you were really good, because I didn't think my family would be able to afford college for me. So that probably wasn't going to be able to be something on the table. So if I did well enough at basketball, I could get this college scholarship. Right. And what a college scholarship looked like was Ashley being able to leave Delaware. And that's what I wanted. Everything always felt so icky at home. I just wanted to go away. So I'm this really, really good basketball player, like really good. And I was living this double life. So I'm on AAU national teams. I get kind of recruited to like the biggest high school in Delaware for girls basketball because they're winning state championships. That's what I want to be part of. So once I got to high school and I was part of that, the sad part is now alcohol and drugs was doing more for me than basketball was. And so were boys, let's be clear. Like they were as much as my drug as, actual alcohol and drugs. So I get to high school. I'm a disaster because now I'm getting a little bit more freedom to try things and do things. And I'm hanging out with older kids and I'm experiencing all this new stuff. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Love it so much that I one day decided to do drugs while in school and got caught. So here I am, this huge basketball player, getting letters from all these colleges all over the country. And now I get busted doing drugs in school at this little tiny school. So they weren't very happy with that. I finished there. They allowed me to finish out my sophomore year, and then I had to leave. So going into junior year, I had to now switch to a different high school, which I don't know if you've ever seen Delaware on the map and how small it is. So especially if you're an athlete, especially if you've lived in Delaware your whole life, now this incident happens and everybody knows you, and trying to switch over to another school, it's what nightmares are made of. And I went from this little private all-girls school that I think we had 63 people in my class to this giant school with over 400 and some people in my grade, boys and girls. And I didn't fare well there either. So high school was not fun. I was always in trouble. One thing after the other. I just could never find my footing while I was there. Drugs, sex, older men. My other high school boyfriend was abusive. I got pregnant in high school.
Really?
Yeah. And that, I was in a Catholic school, so that wasn't allowed. So had an abortion, like just nothing fared well for me in high school.
Wow.
And I just kept tanking because then just with all the stuff that was going on, it fueled my addiction.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'll just use more drugs. That sounds like a better plan than like having to deal with any of this.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So would you say you struggled a lot mentally? Like what was your headspace at, especially with like being at a Catholic school and then getting an abortion?
Oh, it was awful. You want to talk about shame and guilt. And so my mental health was never very good. My anxiety, I think back to like when I was a kid, that's where like my anxiety started. Like anytime I was going to have to go to my grandparents' house and not knowing how to feel safe in spaces and, the constant moving back and forth with like, am I going to my dad's house this weekend? Not feeling love from men, right? So like almost all the men in my tight circle seemed like they failed me. So my relationship with men became very disillusioned. And so my headspace was never good. I lacked self-confidence. I lacked ability to like feel like I belonged. I lacked everything. And I really, really struggled. Depression, like getting myself to be able to do anything, muster up enough. And then you just develop this mask, like how we talk about masks all the time. And I was the great pretender during all this time when everything was falling apart. And lots of times I wanted to kill myself. Like that was really the goal. But I always say I couldn't do it because of my mom. I remember like all the days that I considered it. Like, I can't be here. I can't do this. Life is too painful and it's too hard. I want to kill myself. But then thinking about how that would leave my mother. And that was always my thing that didn't allow me to do it. Because I knew my mom wouldn't survive if I were to do that. So
When was your first time in treatment?
I didn't go to treatment. Well, so when I got in trouble at school, they sent me to treatment for alcohol and drugs, like an outpatient. And then, so I sought a lot of therapy in between that. So mom would send me to different therapists trying to figure things out. But again, the great pretender.
Right.
So once I got there, I played the victim and everything. And I would say, all the kids are doing it. It's not just me. I'm so terrible at lying and sneaking that I'm the one that gets caught. So I always flipped the script and was never honest with anybody that I sat in front of.
Right. And that's what it takes, is like that moment of honesty to actually find some type of recovery. So how did your addiction progress? How long were you actively using?
About 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was such a roller coaster, and I would excel and do really good in certain areas at certain times, and then everything would come crashing down. And then usually I would jolt and make these crazy moves to try and like unhinge myself and like make myself do better. So I ended up going to college. I ended up getting a full college scholarship to play basketball. Now, it was a local school. It wasn't, Stanford and all the big schools that were initially looking at me. And I was...
Stanford was looking at you?
I still have the handwritten letters from the coaches. Yeah.
That's insane.
I know. Really insane. But anyway, we try not to go there too much about what could have been. So I make it to college. I'm still a train wreck. And I always laugh because if you were to open up a paper from 1998 to 2001, you would have thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
You were the capers?
Yeah, all the time.
Wow.
I was the captain of the team 3 years in a row. I was usually one of the high scorers. At the time, I held the record for the most three-pointers in a game. I was tied with someone else. So like I was doing well to everyone else. But what people didn't see was I usually wasn't sleeping before the games. I'm now full into like full-blown alcoholism, full blown cocaine addiction, and I'm just right into the wheels fall off. It was going into my senior year that I was like, this, like I was feeling bad about myself and I was really, really struggling. People were starting to notice, right? So like the inside folks like would always kind of be like, I don't know what's up with her. Like something's off. But everybody's partying in college, but never like me. So like the party would end for everyone else and they'd go home and go to bed like responsible human beings. And then I would leave and go meet other friends and, stay up for another 6 hours. That was kind of my MO. But I'm running myself ragged. I remember having that feeling much like I finally got to at my bitter end. Um, but I was like, I'm tired. I need to figure something out. And I remember thinking like, maybe I should go to treatment. That was like first thought. And then I was like, but I'm 21.
Right.
I'm in college. Like I kind of felt like this is what I was supposed to somewhat be doing. Maybe not to the point I was, but a little bit.
So you had an inkling of an issue.
Yes.
For me, I was I had that like denial. I was 18.
Right.
And I'm like, me go to treatment is crazy.
Right.
Me getting sober is not like I can't even legally drink yet.
Yeah, I didn't even know what the word sober meant.
Right. Not
Yeah.
I didn't know the first thing about it.
Right. I was like, because even and all through the rest of my addiction, there was the funny thing is there was never a point where I thought alcohol was the actual problem. I could say the cocaine or the ecstasy or the whatever else I was shoving into my body at that time, but there was never an idea that like maybe I shouldn't drink alcohol. That never came to mind.
I feel like there's a lot that goes into that because it's so normalized.
Yeah.
Everybody around you is drinking it. Socially, it's a thing you do together.
Yeah. It's fun. It's what makes life fun. That's what I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe. Was like, that's the only thing you can do to make life fun.
I know, that was my biggest fear with early sobriety as well. It's like, what do people do for fun then?
Right.
Because, my definition of fun is getting drunk or high.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like not even on the radar for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But so at 21, treatment is an idea. Then I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
We're not doing that route. So then I joined the military.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So talk about like a sickness and a manipulation, right? Because actually one of the other schools that was highly recruiting me was West Point. So it's the Army college where you become an officer after you're done and you spend your 4 years of college tucked away being in the military.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, I think this is a good plan. Like, I don't have to confess to my addiction. People aren't going to question too much about leaving school, right? Because I knew that was going to be a big one. Like, how are you leaving going into your senior year of college? And I was still kind of like playing up the role and like, I was going to be a hero.
Yeah.
I'm going to go serve my country. Right? Like, what a genius plan I thought I had. I really thought I had that one in the bag. So yeah, going into my senior year of college, here's the real kick in the pants. So, of course, my family's devastated. I tell no one. Like, I don't like run this by people. This is like a thought that comes and I go and take care of it and I just go and do it. And then I come home and I'm like, oh, hey guys, by the way, I'm going to be leaving in a couple months to join the military because that was my other plan. I went in August and signed the papers. Like, hey, I'm going. And they were like, well, you can come now. And I was like, I'm going to need you to, calm down a little bit because I'm going to need 2 months. So you can go in like a delayed entry kind of thing. So like you can sign up and say you want to leave at a later date. So I signed up in August. My date to leave was October 5th. In between that, September 11th happened.
Oh, this tells more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm driving into work. And just to be clear, I was not joining the military because I wanted anything to do with like America and serve my country. It was my escape. It was going to get me out of Delaware. It was going to get me away from the people I was hanging out with, hopefully get me away from, the drug scene. And the hopes was to like start this new life, not to fight for my country. I was going into work the morning of September 11th and I hear like the towers going down. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like this was not part of the plan. And so then of course I like kept trying to call and I was like, I really don't, this isn't a good idea for me. Like to read her like, bro, you don't have a choice.
Mhm.
You sign the paperwork. Like if you're not there on October 5th, like you're going to jail.
Wow.
So now I'm entering the military and we're like war.
You're going to war.
I'm going to war. I just wanted to wear camo and combat boots every day, like not
That's
go
so
to war.
crazy.
So yeah,
So
the joke was really on me. So yeah, I had to go in.
Wow. What was how long were you in the military?
I was in for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so obviously going into the military, like they ask you a lot of questions. And I lied about everything, right? Like I'm not going to tell them. Well, actually, the first recruiter I went to, I told the truth
Okay.
at the Army recruiter. And he looked at me after our interview and he was like, I'm so sorry. He was like, but there aren't enough waivers that could ever get you into the United States Army.
Wow.
Have a good day. Because I thought honesty was the best policy. It's totally not when dealing with the military and your drug use over the years.
Right. You were kind of trying to like use it as a little bit of a rehabilitation.
Yeah. So they did not find that cute. And so then I waited, I think it was like 2 weeks, and I went to Pennsylvania to an Air Force recruiter. And they obviously asked me the same series of questions and I gave them completely different answers. And so those were the ones that were like, awesome. Come on, sign up, join. And I went in as one job. Once I got to tech school, after basic training, I immediately started drinking because 7 weeks of basic training was the longest period of time since I had probably been 13 years old that I hadn't put a drink or a drug in my body. So as soon as I got out of basic training and got to my first tech school and could get my hands on booze, I was off to the races. So I failed out of my first tech school. I went in to be a load master. So that's the person that does the weight and balances of a plane, and then you fly with your cargo. So I would have been in one of those big cargo planes flying things across the world and the country, wherever. So I failed out of that tech school. After that failing, I was like, all right, I hope everybody's like seeing that like maybe I just shouldn't be doing this. And they were like, no, we're going to keep you here and we're just going to find a job that better suits you.
Right.
I was like, I don't want to take this gamble. So the gamble is now I become a police officer, which is an even funnier joke of all people. So now I'm fucking carrying around a gun every day and arresting people.
You became a police, so you left.
No, I stayed.
Oh,
and I was a police officer in the military.
Oh.
Yeah. Wild, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a police officer. I did really well in the military, other than when I failed out of my first tech school. Then I kind of pulled my shit together.
Okay.
And finished out my 4 years. I did great. Like I won awards.
Wow.
When I had that structure and that discipline, and I wasn't using drugs, and I was drinking like a fish, for sure. But yeah, while I was in, I got married.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I felt like I was really doing life at that. And I'm now like,
I'm surprised.
25. I'm a cop, I'm married, and like, I'm only drinking.
Literally, I'm surprised by every single thing you're putting in this story.
Wild, I tell you.
Okay, so you left, so you did your 4 years, you got married.
Did my 4 years, I was married. I decided that I want to get out because I probably would have stayed in, but the issue is we were deploying every year and you were usually deploying for 6 months. And now that I'm, playing wife and I want a family, I'm like, well, I don't want to have to worry about picking up and leaving every year to go to Afghanistan or, Iraq. Like this, I don't want that to be part of my life. So I went ahead and got out. And then my husband got out. And then we moved back to Delaware.
Okay.
Fatal mistake.
What happened in Delaware?
So we moved back to Delaware. And then I actually start going back to school. And most of that was on because everybody told me once I left college, if I went, I wouldn't ever finish. It's like, I'll show you. So I came home, I started back at school. My husband at the time was also a police officer in the military, and he wanted to be a police officer in the real world as well. I obviously did not want to do that. So he went into the police academy. While all that was happening, he ended up cheating on me.
Oh.
So here's where I always say, like, even though I had like taken a break from like using substances a lot. Now, I always like to be very clear. When I was in the military, I was drinking like a fish.
Yeah.
I was not using drugs while technically in there, but every time I went home on leave. So like say I went back to Delaware for a week while on leave. I was definitely using drugs in my first 2 days because then I would just clean out my system for when I got back from leave and they drug tested me. So I wasn't an angel. But now that this whole thing happened with my husband, that's where I sort of like took that turn again and was like, well, again, my issue with the men in my life that I had, you know, the dad, the grandfather. I finally felt like I had found the one that I could really trust. So much so that I chose to marry him. And now that he did that, everything went out the window. And I went right back to using because that's the only thing that I knew that would make me feel better.
Your only coping skill, really.
It's the only thing I had because I wasn't gaining any tools for my emotional well-being while I was in the military. So as soon as that happened, I like really started back down that spiral again.
I kind of want to dive into a little bit of the addiction to people because I like briefly experienced that. Well, of course, in my addiction and even in sobriety. And like I really debated joining like slaw because I was like really concerned for myself. But there really is this addiction to love and sex.
Yes.
So what do you have to say about that and with your experience?
I think it is absolutely a true thing. It's so much so that I often had thought about when I was wanting to like write a book. I was going to label it my drugs of choice at certain times with the man that was connected to it. So everywhere I went in my addiction and with my drug use was usually trailed with a specific male.
Wow.
So even because when I was thinking about with my husband, that was going to be the chapter that was called Fine Wine because we maintained and we had a roof over our heads and we both had jobs, but we drank like no other. So like the addiction was still there. It maybe wasn't as prevalent and didn't outshine everything else, but like we had that connection in the drinking. And then all my other drugs of choice later on down the road also coincided with specific males. And it was like I needed both of those things together to fill me up and to fill my soul. And the guy was usually just as much of the addiction as the actual drug itself.
Why do you think that is that you kind of almost had an addiction to these different men?
The emptiness, looking for validation, looking for that camaraderie and that person to have. And I found myself being the same way and worse in sobriety, especially early on. Like it's a disaster because now I didn't have the alcohol and drugs. I still need fulfilling and validation and I don't have it from the drugs. So then I really had to seek it out in relationships.
Yeah.
And early on in sobriety, we get why they tell us to wait. We are unwell.
Because we're trying to latch on to anything that gives us any sort of relief.
Yes. And I got my identity from the man too. Like I remember coming into recovery and really looking at like I had no idea who I was because I'd always become my partner. Good or bad. And a lot of them were not good. A lot of them were bad. And I became my partners all the time. So I had no idea who I was as a human being walking into treatment. at 34. No clue.
Right.
It's very sick and twisted. And I think a lot had to do with, I don't like to put anything on just the abuse or just the dad, you know, not being present. But I wanted men to like me. Like I was always craving it. What's that daddy issues that they say? Like right here. That was me, but I wanted a man to validate me. I wanted a man to make me feel safe, to make me feel like I was cared for and loved. And I hadn't had very good experiences with that.
What do you think you chose toxic men? Like, why is that a thing some of us gravitate towards?
I don't know. So there's like different pieces of it. So I think the real kicker is that in my marriage, when we first met, everything about us was very healthy. And he was for the longest time like my soulmate and my best friend. And we had what I would say was a very healthy marriage. Now, obviously, things turned later on, but for the most part, that was the healthiest relationship I had ever been in. And I had a lot of toxic men prior to that. Found this good one, and then when the good one did me dirty, I can remember thinking, I will never be in this situation again because I had made myself vulnerable. I had opened up and allowed a relationship that I never experienced before, like that trust and the kindness and all those things. So I remember after that telling myself, like, yo, no one else will ever catch me like this again. So I always felt like with the bad ones, I knew what I was getting. There were no surprises. I knew that they were probably going to cheat on me. I knew that they were probably going to do terrible things, but I could make peace with it because it was up front. I didn't like to get caught off guard. So then I constantly tried to chase the bad boy, the one, and I would, again, so sick. Like I need one that can hold up with me and can keep up with me. So I kept just picking a little bit worse, a little bit worse. And I think there was also a part of me selfishly that tried to find ones that were a little worse than me so that I can make myself feel better. You know what I mean? So like I got some gratification that maybe he was down here a little bit so I could shine a little bit more, even though we were usually doing the same thing.
It was just something you felt inside about. I'm a little better.
I'm a little bit better than him. So it boosted my confidence.
It's so weird how we like manage or like work our relationships and our addiction. Cause I had yeah, like I was a pretty piece of shit person, but I had like my trudging buddy that I know you will do the exact same things I would do for substances.
Yep.
And you will screw over people just like with me.
Yep.
Right. And for some reason that's so comforting to
Yeah.
have.
There's this trust and this bond that you guys will go to the ends together.
Right.
And you're going to do it together.
And it's it feels so much better than being alone.
Yeah.
So like even if like maybe you steal like a few pills from me, it's like I can forgive you because
Right.
we do worse together.
Yeah.
Something weird, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously like my last 4 years of my addiction, I was with a partner who had been using way longer than I had. I knew he was a known heroin addict. Yet I still pursued him and dated him. And when we met, I was still just using pills at the time. I like how I say just using. But and I had a full-time job. I had a roof over my head. Again, like most of my life, I maintained pretty well with jobs and, paying bills and things. And then this specific individual, when we got into relationship together, that's really when I like skyrocketed into the next dimension. And for 4 years we were together, full blown heroin addicts, crackheads, the bottom of the barrel. There were many times we did not have a roof over our heads. We ate out of dumpsters. Like we were like thugging it out there in Wilmington. And it was wild and crazy. And never safe. And when I talk about him now, like even sometimes my mom, when I talk about relationships, I will try to still stand on the love that we had for one another. And she's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you guys were so disgusting and so sick. Like, we weren't even allowed to be around my family at this point. And she's like, how could you even say that that is love? And I'm like, when somebody rides with you for that many years, sees you at your absolute worst, not only like physically, but like morally, you're so in the trenches together, but they still look at you and love you and every day remind you of that love, no matter how sick it is, it's still love. And I will always say that, like, when thinking of my life and the loves that I have had in my life, he's a big one. It was love. It was a very sick love. It didn't make sense. It was not pretty, but it was still a love. And that sometimes doesn't make my mom.
No, that
But I stand on
I
it.
hear your logic.
Yeah.
I really do. It makes sense.
Yeah.
My best friend who passed away, like our last interaction was him trying to steal money from me.
Yeah.
But it's like, I love you so much. Like,
Right.
we saw each other at our worst.
Yep.
And we did crazy things together, but I know at the end of the day, like, you cared for my well-being.
Yeah. I mean, he honestly was a lot of the reasons why I don't have charges on my records. Like, he took falls for me, and he, was the one that when I was sick would go make something happen, So, like, again, it's not a healthy love.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the kind of love you read about in a romance novel, but for me, it was love.
Right.
And
that was like the greatest love you probably experienced at that time.
yeah.
Up to that point, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was your drug of choice in the end?
Heroin and crack.
I don't know why I really like asking people this question of like why they kind of choose their drug of choice or when they stick with it.
Right.
For example, my thing was Xanax.
Mm-hmm.
I fell in love with the blackouts and just complete disassociation.
Okay.
And not remembering and forgetting and almost living in a fantasy of what maybe I did yesterday, even though I have no clue what I did.
Right.
And almost the thrill of like, oh, I got home safe.
Mm-hmm.
Waking up in bed like, oh, I made it.
Right.
So that was kind of like why I really love Xanax. Like, what about heroin and crack kind of spoke to you?
I don't know. I can remember, so heroin, I didn't start getting into opiates until I was 30. So I had a knee injury, was now prescribed them. So I was in the military when like the big wave of all the pill mills and all that stuff was going on. So I was like really disconnected from that world. So it wasn't until I was 30 years old that I had a knee injury, introduced to pills. I can remember that aha moment of like, because I was super judgy, even though I was an addict my whole life. People who went to that side of things, I was better than them.
Right.
I was never, I was, too smart, raised too well, had a college degree, served in the military. There was no way I could be all the things that I see in the movies and read about in books. It was not possible for someone like myself.
Addicts stigmatizing addicts.
1000%. I always said I thought I was a high-end addict. I blow coke and I drink martinis sometimes and chug beers. Like, I'm a party girl. That's kind of how I had always seen myself, not as an actual addict. So I now start the pills. And I remember thinking, like, what the fuck, man? Like, these are great. Like, I don't know why I was so judgy about pills. And they're prescribed. Like,
What were you prescribed?
I think it was Percocet. And I was like, I don't see why everybody made such a big deal about this. These are amazing. I've waited for these my whole life. It gave me that just full over euphoric feeling. Like, I just felt good about everything. You could tell me, my cat died and I'd be like, that's all right, man. I just feel good, So like took away all this like anxiety, tenseness. And I remember also too when the pills like took a turn where they gave me energy. So I was like, yeah, man, go clean the house today. So like and then as we know, like I start just taking a couple. Now I'm saving them, not taking them for physical therapy so I can have 3 of them at nighttime. And so then that just continues to trickle. And now I'm buying them off the streets. They're expensive, So then her is like, well, there's something else you can use. So I don't know that I actually liked heroin, to be completely honest. I always said, like, if I could have stopped at the pills, that was like a good gig for me. The heroin, I never like felt quite the same um as I did when I was taking the pills. So once I flipped to heroin, at that point in time, it was just a physical addiction.
Right.
Like if I didn't have that, I was going to be sick. What I loved cocaine. I like to go fast all the time. And it really hones me in because I can be very ADD. So cocaine was probably my real love. And then when I started smoking that shit, it was like another level. I loved it. I always say, like, somebody could have dropped a nickel 2 blocks away, and I would hear that nickel drop. I would go get that fucking nickel, and I was going to make something happen with it for crack.
Wow.
I loved it. So that was really, I would say, my real love in the drug game.
That's so funny because I hated being awake. I tried to have a little Adderall phase because Xanax kept causing me too much trouble.
Right.
And they just didn't do it for me. I was like, my mouth's dry. I'm not hungry. I like to eat.
Yeah. No, I was complete opposite. I was like, give me all the crack that you can possibly find. And of course, then you can imagine I'd be up for days and days. And with that, it never ends because it's fast and it's quick. You just need more and more and more and more and more.
So what was your rock bottom with your addiction?
So rock bottom looked like it was the winter of 2013, 2014. That year here on the East Coast, we had so much snow. We had not had snow like this in, I can't even tell you how long. So it's weird because like now I can get a little like hippy dippy and earthy, which is always something I never was before. But Mother Nature saved my life.
Wow.
So we did not have, well, we were staying in this like 1-room shanty, I shall call it, in the city. We had been cops at the house all the time. We had been raided not too long before that, and that was like a pretty big deal. Like they came in and like busted down our door and took all our stuff. So we were hot on the street. Like everybody was always like looking for us, and we were always in trouble. I had a job bartending, and I had lost that job. In December, my boyfriend, the one who I used with, his brother died. And then his stepsister died, all related to this disease. And they were like, they had like families and like houses and jobs. And I remember like I could feel, it was almost like I could feel death coming. Like I was like, dude, if these two are already like, if it happened to them, like it's going to happen to us and it's going to happen to us soon. Again, there was so much heat on us. We were constantly trying to like make these deals and things were going really wrong. I think it was on Christmas Eve. We got robbed and he got pistol whipped. And I can remember calling my mom and saying, yeah, I don't think we're going to be around tomorrow to even come by because Justin just got pistol whipped and I knew I was going to be sick. So like my family and everybody knows at this point, there's like no secrets. It's really bad. But so this is what's like going on like at home. And I remember like missing Christmas and my family saying like, please go to treatment, please go to treatment. We had another big pile of snow come in. And when I say snow, like I'm talking like we had feet of snow. And so when you're in the city and you don't have a job and you don't have money and you don't have food, the drug dealers don't run into your house.
Right.
When there's 2 feet of snow, the city's quiet. People aren't like driving in, so we can't, make things happen like we used to like to make things happen. So it was like dead, desolate. We were ready to kill each other because we were like both sick, can't find anything, can't get our hands on money. It was just bad. And my parents were like, we'll just go for the new year. My birthday's January 1st. I was like, not going on my birthday. Like, why? You're not getting cake. There's no celebration. Like, just give it up. Like, just go. And then so finally on January 6th, I said that was the day that I would go. And my mom picked me up, and we had a prostitute staying with us at that time named Coco, and she was all talking to my mom so I could finish getting high before I got in the car. And I looked at him and I said, I love you. I'll be back. And because again, I didn't know one single person in recovery. I didn't know how this whole thing was going. And so I was like, baby, I love you. Hold it down. I'm going to be back in 21 days. I love you so much. Coco, keep an eye on it. Adios. And my mom drove away with me.
Oh my God. Coco, hold it down.
Coco, hold it down. You hold it down. Take care of my baby while I'm gone.
Wow, okay, so how was treatment?
Fucking terrible.
Was this your first real round?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to detox. It's so different now. Like, I was so sick and they didn't give Suboxone either. And I remember I threw a fit because I was like, you're trying to kill me. And they were like, nope, sorry, we just don't do it. So I went to a VA. So the military, even though I tried to get it to try and save my life the first time, as I'm entering and decide to go to treatment, I had no job. I had no insurance. I didn't even have state insurance. Like, I had nothing. So I found out that there was this place here in Maryland called Perry Point that took veterans.
Wow.
So I showed up there. They put me in the hospital for 7 days for detox. It was excruciating. I always say, like, the pain of the detox, like the physical pain, is probably one of the biggest factors for why I've never looked back. I remember sitting on the bathroom or laying on the bathroom floor, crying hysterically because I would get those restless legs really bad. And just crying and trying to put hot water over my legs to try and bring me some comfort. Wow. And so I was in the hospital for 7 days. It was miserable. And then they had like a treatment part at Perry Point, but then they had this other place in Coatesville. So originally I was going to go to Coatesville. I decided against that for some reason because I went up there and I wasn't feeling the vibe, which you can imagine when your parents take you from detox to go to a treatment center and you get there and you say you're not feeling the vibe. Did not go right. These vibes are real off. I don't think I should be here. What a nightmare. And to think about what I put my parents through also is just terrible. But anyway, so then I got permission to come back to Perry Point, which is in Cecil County, Maryland. And I started the treatment journey. It was wildly uncomfortable. I was the youngest person there, probably, and one of the only females. Like, I'm in there with Vietnam vets. So, like, it was really challenging, like, from that side of things. Like, there was no other young people. There was no other women. And like I said, most of the men that were in my treatment facility were aged 50 to 70. Wow. So I didn't quite feel like I fit in there, but it didn't take me long to, like, start understanding some things. And, like, the things that they were saying, I was like, fuck, this makes sense. Like, I kind of get this. And I guess I was just, like, really open to try something different. So I was really started, like, receiving, like, the information that they were giving. And I always say there was, like, that point that something happened. Like, I spent my whole life wondering what was wrong with me. My whole entire life. Like, and so much so, like, my family used to say it all the time. Like, not in a bad, but just like, I don't understand. What's wrong with you? Like, why do you do these things? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And the God's honest truth was I didn't have an answer for him because I did know what was wrong with me. And I remember, like, when we were sitting in a meeting and I had to stand up for the first time and say that I was an addict and an alcoholic, it, like, hit me. And I was like, this is it. What the fuck's wrong with me, everybody? Like, I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And I felt like once I was able to identify those two things, then I could start learning and understanding about myself. And I did. I just started putting in the work. And at 21 days, they were like, all right. They were like, you can get ready to go home. And I was like, fuck you. I was like, I can't. I was like, I can't. One, I don't have anywhere to go. I've now learned enough that I can't go back to boyfriend in Wilmington. At least I caught that memo quick. So I ended up staying inside the treatment facility for like 109 days.
Wow.
I was every time they said, I was like, please let me stay. I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm like, if you let me out, I'm going to die. I need to be here. I need to be safe. So I did the 109 days there. Then I went over to a recovery house. Obviously, I've been introduced to, 12-step programs. Most of the time when I started doing those, it was like to get off campus so I could go see other human beings. But whatever, it started working and I did all the things. I got the home group, I got the sponsor, and I just started like getting that connection.
Yeah, it's really interesting because sometimes I wondered what was wrong with me as well. I was like, I just can't put my finger on it. I don't know why I keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was honestly just as simple as, yeah, I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, like my brain's different. And the crazy part is that I went to school, like my college degree is in behavioral science. Like I studied like psychology and the brain and all those things, but I always felt like that applied to everyone else on me. So like I had done and understood a lot of things. I always tell people all the time when we talk about treatment, they don't give you a secret book while you're there that explains things that you can't get out in the world from any other book that you might read. Like it's all the same stuff, but being removed from the substance and gaining that information and being able to receive it and understand it, that's where the shift is. This treatment center doesn't give you a different book than this one, so you'll recover better.
Like I don't care how luxury the treatment center is, you'll learn the same thing.
You're going to learn the same thing.
Yeah, and it really is just somehow, maybe by the grace of God, being open to receiving the information.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just what I got, what I had when I went to treatment when I was 18. Like,
Exactly.
I was grateful enough to have that, and like some people weren't. Like I don't know what it is. It infuriates me so much that some people don't get it.
I know. And I think because also too, like I know I gave like the what was going on there, but towards my end too, I got to that pain and that bottom of I was so tired and I was so exhausted and the way that I was living was so miserable. That death again, like death was back visiting that time in my life too. Like I wanted to die because I couldn't keep this up anymore. Like I was so run down, I was so beat up. I was in so much mental anguish day in and day out. Like to open your eyes and say like as soon as they open, fuck, what am I going to have to do today? I got no money. I'm going to have to make something happen. What bottom am I going to have to hit again in order to get myself right today? Like living in that groundhog day after day after day after day of doing that, like my mental stability was terrible and I was finally broken down to go to treatment. So when I got there, being so beat down, anybody that was offering me a solution and something that could help, I was willing to take. So when we talk about that, like being open and being willing to listen and to actually do the things,
Right.
I think is what's key.
Exactly.
And I've continued to stay open and stay willing to do those things over the last 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know why I was one of the lucky ones, but I feel like, because people are like, oh, you only you went one time. And that was like a huge thing for me, like for a while, because I was like, bro, should I just like relapse now? Because everybody's telling me it's part of the story. Like, should I just go now? And I remember my sponsor at the time was like, it doesn't have to be like, it's not a prerequisite that you have to do this. She was like, maybe you can share your story, how it has been just the one time for you. That can be a connection for somebody else who maybe hears it. Cause I was like, dude, I don't want to get much more time if I'm going to have to go back out and come back.
It's so funny because I kind of had a similar thought process. Cause yeah, I'm 18. I did the detox, I did the residential, I'm in sober living. Everybody's just leaving.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people do multiple runs in the same treatment center or, and they're getting these multiple chances to stay in the sober living or whatever it is. I'm like, is this a thing people really do? Like, should I?
Should I just go now?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like mentally, you know, I somewhat had reservations. I was like,
1,000%.
but I don't know. I don't know why I stuck around. I can't like put my finger on it. I'm sure it was accumulation of the people around me.
Yeah.
Just like not wanting to lose a little bit of what I gained.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I guess
Like, I don't know. Should I just. Well, especially too, you know, when I go to treatment and they read you like the statistics of like.
only 1% of you are gonna stay sober. I'm like, why are you guys sharing this?
Right. I was like, please, can we?
It's almost like you're telling me to go get.
Yeah. I remember how I was like, oh, I don't think they should share this. Like, this is
That's
bad
actually a really good point. Why are they sharing that?
I don't know, but I had like a 20% chance. Again, it's okay if it happens, but
Right. It is okay if it happens.
Right. But like, it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. And so for me, it wasn't. Thank goodness. And now, like, I know it's silly, like with your time, and I know a lot of people who like don't take, not that they don't take pride in their time, but like my time means the world to me, and I could not envision like giving that up. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's sacred to me.
Right. Even these 4 years that I've accumulated, I'm like, why? There's nothing worth giving it up.
No.
Like just to like forget
Right.
a day or
Right.
feel a little bit of artificial euphoria.
Yeah. And I can assure you, I've had a lot of bad fucking days for the last 11 years. A lot happens, but there still hasn't been a good enough reason for me to revisit that pain that I've been
like
before.
That corny saying of like my worst day sober isn't anything like my best day high or something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I fully believe that either. You know, we don't, that's another thing too, is like getting high. There's a point where it's a lot of fun. And it's not the worst thing ever. Like I had periods of time where I was able to do it semi-responsibly, and I had a lot of good times associated with it. I just crossed that line and it just continued to get bad.
A big thing that helped me stay was, yes, hearing other people's stories. And that's a big reason why I love doing this today. Because, yeah, I've heard those people's stories of relapse and giving into their reservations of like, yeah, I just want to smoke a blunt.
Yeah.
And it escalating it really quickly
Yeah.
to going back to the drug of choice and then experiencing serious consequences because of that.
Yeah, to me, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just
It's a risk. And I'm like, because I've had those days of like, am I really an addict? Even in
Right.
sobriety. I
Yeah.
have doubts.
Oh yeah.
But our disease tells us that we don't have a diseased mind, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I really take and hear people's stories as my own.
Yep.
Like, I'm really taking your experience as my own, and like I'm gonna believe it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just don't want to risk it, in all honesty.
And if you're in a program too, you know, that's one of the things that we get to see up front and up close. I'm sure you've had people that you know or that you've seen in meetings that go back out and then they come back. I don't ever want to feel like how they feel when they come back. And they tell me their war stories of like what it's been like now that they went back out and how they're feeling and how much worse things are compared to even when I was out there 11 years ago. I trust them. I believe the stories. I don't have to, because usually I used to not believe anybody's story. If I had to try everything for myself. And with those, I believe their story.
Yeah.
And I don't want it.
Yeah. These days it really is, with relapse, your life is really on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really life or in death now when you go back out.
Oh.
Which almost makes it like scary, and there's this fear when it comes to using today. Like you could literally pick up any substance and it could be laced with something that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
How would you describe almost the insanity and the disease of addiction?
I don't even know if there's words to describe it.
Because it's hard for people to grasp or wrap their heads around, like, why do you keep putting yourself in these life-threatening situations and hurting yourself and others?
I think because when you're in it, it's really just you're so delusional. That's really the only word, because you're right. Any normal thinking, clearly thinking human being looks at that and says to themselves, like, that's not possible. But you are so delusional at that time that I did not see the world as it was, nor did I see myself as I was. I thought I had everything under control. I thought no one could tell. I thought I had full control over the disease. And at any time when I chose, I thought I had a choice, which is frightening because I always thought that when I decide to give this up, I'll be ready. In my brain, though, I was like, well, I don't have any kids. As long as I'm like, can maintain some things, like when I get out of this phase, I'll be all right. And I kind of just always told myself it was just this phase and I didn't have a problem. And I didn't have mental health concerns and PTSD. And I wasn't like that. That wasn't me. So I feel like you're almost like out of body and you don't even have a grip on what reality is.
100%. Complete, almost ignorance of how I'm harming myself and the people around me. Like, I was completely ignorant that I was like threatening people's lives,
Yeah.
driving drunk and blacked out
Yeah.
for years. Never did it once cross my mind that,
Nope.
oh, Laisha, you might hurt somebody.
Never. Never did I would even say, like, I'm only hurting myself.
Exactly.
I would say that to my mother as she's crying, looking at me, saying, like, let's get you help. Like, I don't know why you're so concerned. I'm fine. I've got this.
Yeah.
And we don't have it.
What would you say has been the hardest part about recovery these past 11 years?
Relationships.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How come?
I just think it takes, well, one, you have to come into a relationship with yourself, right? And what a journey that is when, we come into recovery and most of us don't have a clue about who we are, what we want to be, what we want to do, because our possibilities have been so small, right? Because we always were using and things, our world gets really small when we're using. So I think when we come into recovery, we first have to figure out this relationship with ourselves. Obviously relationship with other human beings because we probably haven't been really good at keeping much relationships with anything other than our drug of choice. So now once I find myself and now I have to be able to maintain friendships and for a lot of us we have to find a relationship with a higher power and what that looks like. So you're trying to learn all these new relationships. Also, uh clear up all the relationships to all the people in your life, like how to be a daughter again and how to be a sister. So you're trying to do all these things. And then, romantic relationships are probably what I struggled with for the longest time. And I just don't think I knew my worth for a very long time. It takes us a really long time to appreciate ourselves and grow into ourselves and figure out our own beliefs and just not things that are taught and what you want your relationship to look like and how you want your partner to be. And if you haven't had a lot of great experience with that, sometimes you have to go through those bumps to start figuring that out. Um, so yeah, I feel like that has been the hardest thing was my relationship with, you know, romantic relationships and, regular relationships too because they change and
Yeah, figure out how to like really show up for people.
Yeah.
And just be a good friend.
yeah,
Be a good daughter.
right. And people grow and some don't and you grow in different directions and so, I think about these last 11 years and my relationships all over the place have kind of had to change and morph and you know, because life shows up.
It really does.
It really does. So, yeah, but that's probably been the hardest thing to navigate in recovery is relationships because I don't think that I really knew how to. I always interacted with humans, but like not how to really engage and interact with humans and be my true authentic self while doing it.
Right.
I had a lot of friends because, again, we talk about survey says the chameleon. I could be this thing over here, that thing over there, this over here. And I always had to be liked so I could get what I wanted from those people. And Nowadays, I can just present as me, and you're either going to like it or you're not, and that's okay. And that took me a really long time to get comfortable to do. Very long.
No, for sure.
Yeah. And I still probably struggle with it sometimes. But we're humans. We want to be liked. We want to be accepted, so it can sometimes be hard to navigate those waters.
100%. And the last thing I'll ask you is, can you explain how addiction is a disease? From your even personal experience.
Yeah, from my personal experience, it was something that I truly felt that I had no control over. Like, I would tell myself day in and day out, you know, today I'm going to do something different. Today I'm not going to do this. Today I'm going to show up for this. I'm not going to let, drinking interfere with this. I'm not going to let the drugs interfere with that. I'm going to get a good night's sleep tonight because I have this really important thing the next day and I have to be spot on. I couldn't control it. It had full control over me. So that's where I had all the good intentions. I had all of the good ideas and all the good planning and sometimes even the right resources. And it didn't matter. Like I still couldn't control it, no matter how many times I thought I could, how many times I wanted to. I think that was the biggest thing. Like I always wanted to, but I couldn't.
Yeah, it's the great delusion that I had in my addiction is, yeah, I think I can manage taking 2 Xanax a day and semi-functional, show up to work.
Right. I can do this. It's going to be good. I'm going to go out tonight. I'm only going to have like a couple drinks and do a couple lines and I have this huge interview for this job that I really, really want tomorrow. So I need to cut it off. I need to be done. And then I'd be coming home when the birds were chirping.
Right.
How did I get here? My intentions were always so good. My ideas were always so good. And it was bigger than me.
I mean, I asked that because I feel like there's sometimes I feel like addiction with a lot of people, they don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
People don't take addiction seriously, and because they believe that it is in our control and that we can't stop it. It's a willpower thing. You're just not trying hard enough.
Right.
You don't really want it, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, I could really want sobriety and I could really want to do better, but it's almost like my body is picking up the drug, but I'm not telling it to.
Yeah. It was just a natural.
This is what you felt your
part of me.
Exactly. And that's something I really want to emphasize with this podcast in general. It's like, it's not, if I could stop, I would have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wanted to. And most of the time it wasn't for me. It was for like my family or my brother's sister. Like, I wanted to. When you see that constant heartache on someone's face and disappointment and sadness, because I mean, I don't know if you got to that point, but like everyone that would see me or encounter me would give that look of like, oh God. And like I didn't want that. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to keep disappointing my family. I didn't want to, but I couldn't help myself at the time. Now, yes, I made the mistake of picking up whatever substance for the first time.
Right. That's where we fuck up.
Yeah. So yes, in a perfect world, if I would have never picked up one drink of alcohol or one line or one whatever, but then again, like that's where the component of like, I needed relief. And that's where I hope we do better in this whole space, right? Is like getting to kids before that feels like an option, right. Giving them tools and things to do when they're feeling in pain, like how I was at young ages, to like work them through that so that doesn't seem like the best idea.
Exactly.
I think we're getting there little by little.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like parents, maybe it's just people I've been interacting with, but a lot of parents really trying to break that generational cycle and pattern.
Yeah.
Which is very good to see and hear.
Yeah. But then some of it too, man, I think is a genetic makeup that we don't talk enough about. The disease of addiction is really big in my family. But then I know other people who none of their family members that they know of have it. So
Yeah.
fuck, you just never.
It's frustrating. It's fucking frustrating.
It
It's
is.
we just gotta take care of each other and take care of us.
We do. And things like this, though, I think are good. And, the awareness, just an awareness. Because, like I said, when I went into treatment, I didn't know one person in recovery.
Or like wasn't even exposed to like any media
Nothing.
that even talked about it. That's like why I hope like somebody who runs into like one of our videos like doesn't know the first thing about addiction, like hears somebody's like a minute clip of somebody's story and like maybe learn something, right? Like they're slightly aware of it now.
Right.
That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, just get it on their radar. It's like I said, and even when I went into treatment, like I remember telling the doctors, like, when you gotta like answer all those questions.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do you hear from? Like heroin and crack. And then they're like, well, do you struggle with alcohol? I was like, no. Right. So like, I remember like being upset, like, hold on, I'm gonna have to give up. I'm here for heroin because that's like really caused me a problem. I don't even really want to get off the crack. Just the heroin. Can we do that? And they were like,
Still to do heroin focus
you're like, just sit down right here.
There's a lot to learn.
There is a lot to learn, but I didn't know I wasn't gonna be able to drink.
Yeah.
That was a big bummer.
When you use like us, you kind of have to give it all up.
Yeah, they don't like have that posted on the door walking into rehab, so I felt really upset.
I mean, recovery and addiction really does look different for a lot of people. I've heard those stories of people that they went crazy into like opioid addiction, but they can casually drink now and it really isn't an issue and they have productive lives, successful careers and are happy.
I know.
And that blows my mind, but I don't think I'm one of them.
Yeah. I think I've crossed every line that there was to be crossed. So there's like no return for me. Right. But I too have heard people that,
But the thing is, my addiction can hear that story and play with it.
Oh, I know. So I definitely am like, I'm so happy for you. And just have to remember who I am.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because I still do things alcoholically, addictly in my recovery. So it's just I can't.
That's what helps me remember that I'm an alcoholic and an addict because of like I can obsessively eat. I can obsessively play video games. I've had my vices.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, oh yeah, Laisha, you're an alcoholic.
Right.
And it's a huge thing is realizing that the alcohol and the drugs weren't really the issue in the first place. It's me. So I can literally take that alcoholism into anything else.
Anything. Whether it be work, whether it be a relationship, right. Shopping, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Working out. Like, so yes, some of these things are a lot healthier and like, okay, but yeah.
Anything can be detrimental in a, like if you overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
Water, you can fucking, die of over drinking the water, right? But we need water. You know what I mean? I mean, you can overdo shit and it becomes horrible.
Yes.
So yeah.
And if there's anybody's gonna do that, it's people like us. Yeah. So I just have to try my best to not overindulge.
Yeah, so I wanted to put that perspective out there.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad we got to do it. So.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah, I hope this helped anybody.
Yeah.
And also, like, I want to emphasize, we're not pushing recovery 12-step on anybody. I'm generally just trying to bring the awareness of addiction and share how somebody found recovery and kind of, escaped.
Yeah.
The bulk of the mental health struggles with addiction.
Yeah, so much. And it's still there, even when the addiction's gone.
Exactly.
Something we have to keep up on, too.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on the F The Stigma Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.